let's talk about the Bitcoin ETF and Bitcoin ETF fees specifically. We're seeing over the last couple of days the early firms announcing what their fee structure might be on their ETF. And initially looking at the variety of firms, the trend is very clearly to zero. There's a race to the bottom on fees before launch. However, there's one very clear exception of a firm that is not racing to the bottom. And that firm is Grayscale, GBTC. They have historically charged 2%, which has made them a lot of money over the years. And now they've graciously dropped their fee to 1.5%, far higher than all of the other various firms. Now, why is that? Why would Grayscale, who has billions and billions of dollars of a head start on BlackRock and others, why would they not try to compete with Blockware to get new capital into their fund? And I think it's revealing the end game of what all of these ETFs are looking at. BlackRock, Fidelity, whoever it is, their objective at the start is to attract as much AUM as possible. And to do that, they're willing to offer extremely low fees. That doesn't mean that their fees are going to be zero or close to zero forever, 0.3%, 0.4%, whatever it might be. It means that's where they're going to initially start. The end game might be something like Grayscale, where you have a large percentage of your holders sitting on massive unrealized capital gains where they don't want to sell and buy real estate, buy cash, buy real Bitcoin, because they know they're going to have to write a pretty check, $1 million check, $2 million check to the IRS. And no one wants to do that. And so when you see a 1.5% fee for continuing to get price exposure to Bitcoin via a Grayscale IOU, it doesn't look that bad when you recognize the millions of dollars that you're going to have to pay to exit that position. And so I think investors and people in general should be very weary of the fees and the structure of these Bitcoin ETFs because they can change. And when it changes and, 5 years from now, when you're 10x up on your Bitcoin, 50x up on your Bitcoin, and you're sitting on $5 million of unrealized gains, and all of a sudden BlackRock adjusts their fee from 0.2% to 1%, you're kind of trapped. You have massive unrealized gains. You don't want to pay the IRS, 10, 20% or whatever it is. And you're going to likely just be like, okay, I guess I'll pay the 1% annually to BlackRock because what else are you going to do? You pay 10, 20% to the IRS. 1% looks a lot better than that. And so the only reason I'm bringing this up is because I think it's really important that people see that when you buy a Bitcoin IOU, like an ETF, the ETF owns you at the end of the day. And they can adjust their fees. They can do whatever. At the end of the day, you just don't own real Bitcoin. And so I think it's important that if you want Bitcoin exposure, especially as the ETF comes out, it's important to maybe take an extra hour or two to figure out how to buy and hold real Bitcoin.